I love taking in media, and while I've never gotten deep into anime or manga, Dragon Ball as a series has always stood out to me as something I really enjoy. There are other things I enjoy as well, one being Freddy Fazbear, with another being destroying well-crafted narratives by putting ridiculous characters in them. So, today I'll be doing just that, as we see what happens if Freddy Fazbear replaced Goku, starting with how it would affect the story of Dragon Ball. I do want to quickly say that this video should not be taken seriously at all. I thought it would be fun for the release week of Spark News Zero. A lot of stuff here is going to sound like asspulls though, and that's because quite honestly they are. I'm also not the most well versed in Dragon Ball, so a lot of this information comes from what my brother knows and from me like trying to just see what happens as I type out this script. I also plan on mostly just covering like if Freddy could get past important fights or narrative beats, so I'm not going to be going into the nitty-gritty detail of everything. I will talk about how the story changes and stuff, so you know, the fact that he's a robot, how that makes things different, how he might handle scenarios differently, all that kind of stuff. I do also want to say that this is only part 1. I'm going to be going in sagas. It's just, especially with Dragon Ball, it's just a lot for me to handle because I don't know very much about the series, so it's easier for me to get these videos out if I just cover it one saga at a time, starting with the Pilaf saga. So to start off the series, Grandpa Gohan finds Goku in the middle of nowhere after he gets sent to Earth by his parents Bardock and Gine. In this case, Freddy Fazbear comes from planet Vegeta as well, but he was created by the brilliant scientist Bardock. In order to preserve Freddy's beauty, he was sent to Earth with the idea that Freddy could make quick work of anyone he found that might try and mess with him. I think, you know, Grandpa Gohan finds him like normal, and Freddy can actually still be imprinted on by Grandpa Gohan because he's this lost soul of a child. Like, sure, maybe it's like a Saiyan soul, but because he's dead, he's kind of lost. If Grandpa Gohan came and like cared for this creature, cared for this child, then I think the child would follow him, train with him, kind of like Goku and what happens with him, except for he doesn't get a bump on his head and freaking everything. What makes things different though is when Bulma actually meets Freddy. I think instead of crashing into Freddy and shooting him like she does to a little child, instead she'd find Freddy shaken up, because in this story, eventually the programming in Freddy takes over. The soul, you know, loses against it, whatever, or maybe it shines through one moment and it causes Freddy to kill Grandpa Gohan, just like Goku does when he turns into the Great Ape. But in this case, Grandpa Gohan has been around longer, so Freddy has more years of training experience with Grandpa Gohan for what that's worth. I do think Freddy would catch Bulma's attention, as the fact that he's a seemingly sentient robot could fascinate her. After a conversation, I think Bulma could take Freddy to Capsule Corp, where the Briefs family could reprogram him or remove the same programming, that like the more violent programming, allowing the soul to basically have free will over whatever he does. Because the soul knows that it killed Grandpa Gohan, like it knows it's the cause, I think it would be more adamant in like keeping Grandpa Gohan's legacy, and like it would continue to train hard, but it would also try and be kind and forgiving and protecting of others. Basically just very similar mentality to Goku, but I don't think to the same extent. Like he'd still protect innocence and be kind and forgiving, but in Z, when Goku gives Frieza his energy, when Frieza's like dying and begging, Freddy would not do that. He'd be like, nah, you're dead, I don't like you. So he might spare like a Piccolo type, but he would not spare a Frieza type. Already, there's some apparent complications. First off,
Freddy could never be strong enough to fight.
To that, I say, sure, normally, but since this bear comes from planet Vegeta, this shit is not normal. Secondly,
he's a robot. How does he get stronger?
well, the answer to that is through mental and spiritual training. A lot like the meditation Piccolo does. Sure, Freddy can still throw hands, like he knows martial arts, he knows how to fight, but he doesn't really have the ability to get physically stronger. He doesn't have a physical body that can grow stronger like that. So he would have to mostly rely on his mastery of mind, spirit, and ki-based techniques. Now, can he use ki? That's heavily debatable. There are instances in which which souls manifest ki. Like when Kid Buu was reincarnated into Oob was still crazy strong for being what is seemingly a normal person, and that's because Kid Buu's ki transferred over. You could say Freddy cannot use ki, but I personally say, 1, it's not that deep. 2, it is possible, and 3, just let me have my fun though. Come on, you don't gotta ruin it. Freddy would help Bulma find the Dragon Balls, and I think with the training he's done, he could save Turtle pretty easily. I believe despite Freddy having killed Grandpa Gohan, because it wasn't done intentionally, Freddy acted and killed him in a moment of like unconsciousness, and it was unintentional, and it wasn't his choice. So I think he's pure of heart or pure-hearted enough to ride the Nimbus. I think Freddy would be capable of catching Oolong as well if he has the Nimbus, and could later beat Yamcha in the desert since he won't get hungry and won't stop fighting. But I don't think he kills Yamcha, and Yamcha still runs away, essentially playing out the same. He would also fend off the attempted break-in later that Yamcha and Tor try to do. You know, he doesn't need to sleep. It makes it a little easier when you don't need to eat or sleep. When Yamcha returns later with a literal rocket launcher, Freddy would not be very appreciative, and once again fight and beat Yamcha. No story change, I just wanted to cover the fact that Yamcha risks killing a kid, woman, and shape-shifting pig. This manga is crazy. Having never read it before, I have no idea what the hell is going on half the time. I guess the story goes the same way for the next couple chapters. I don't know if Freddy is capable of instantly mimicking the Kamehameha like Goku does, but I think he can learn them faster, thanks to being A, like having the soul of a Saiyan, and B, being a robot that was probably built with some intention of fighting. So maybe in my mind he can like keep a database of techniques, but the soul still has to learn how to use them. I also want to take some time to state now that he'd be made out of materials from planet Vegeta, so he's likely way more durable as well. You know, to give an example, the space pods go through buildings like nothing. I don't know if he's made out of the same materials as the space pods, but definitely his durability is far beyond like most Earth metals. I think it's pretty reasonable to assume the monster carrot fight plays out like the exact same as the manga as well here, considering Freddy would have the power pole, and he has no reason to just not fight him with the power pole once he figures out that touching him turns you into a carrot. This arc, honestly, like, it's sadly mostly the same. They get to the castle after getting robbed, but Freddy cannot be gassed and put to sleep. He might be wise enough to play along with it though, allowing the 4-star or Dragon Ball to get taken, but he'd make it so they don't get locked back in, or if they were to get locked back in, he'd really quickly wake everybody up and then get them out. With that in mind, I'm pretty sure our heroes just take the Dragon Balls back, because in the manga, Pilaf decides to wait, and this gives our heroes the opportunity to jump them and take the Dragon Balls back, and then summon Shinron themselves. But I still think Oolong would get his wish. I think it'd be like whoever can make the wish fastest, and I'm willing to bet it's Oolong. Also, just so the story doesn't drastically change going forward. The ending would pretty much be the same. Freddy wouldn't turn into a great ape, but everyone would head their separate ways, with Freddy heading off to train under Master Roshi.